And grow. Let the wisdom in tow. Feel the rhythm in your soul. Let your spirit flow. Inspire you to grow. Inspire you to glow. Let it glow. Let it glow. Let it glow.
Hi, Glow Gang, and welcome to a brand new season of Glotalks, where we talk about art, spirituality, and life lessons. I'm your host, Gloria Mwange, and today's episode, we're actually talking about restructuring and not just a business, but a vision. I'm joined by the founder and co-owner behind 10-8 Gym here in Ottawa, one leading the training on the floor, the other shaping the story and creative voice behind the brand. Together, they're building more than just a gym. They're actually building a community. Welcome to the set, Kyle and Emily.
Thank you.
Hi, you guys.
Hey, what's up?
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for actually accepting my invitation. I wanted to have a conversation with you since like season 2, but unfortunately, kind of it didn't plan out right, the right way. But you gave me the opportunity of actually coming to the showcase that you guys held, and it was an experience, to say the least, okay? I've always been able to kind of like see boxing on TV, but as far as having to watch it live, a completely different experience. And I personally think that anybody, before they die, they have to experience at least one fight in their life.
Oh, yeah,
okay?
100%.
Either in the ring or as a viewer, because I had an amazing, amazing time. So first of all, thank you for that. Also, I wanted to ask, because you are the founder and you are the co-owner, and how did 10-8 even come about?
Basically, I was at another gym that we built a boxing program out of, and then it kind of outgrew that location. So myself and the other owners at the time, there was also a partner of mine at the time, Kajil Grant. He did strength and conditioning.
Nice.
So he was there in the beginning, building it up with us. And we did that for a couple of years. And we started getting some like real competitors that we were building, and we had to go pure boxing.
Wow.
So we went, we got registered and started putting people in the ring.
Of course.
So that was the beginning of it.
And now that you are in the thick of it, what does restructuring actually means for you, for the gym itself? Because this specific season, we're talking about restructuring in all aspects. And it actually felt really right to have you guys on the show, because I'm like, having to restructure in boxing is constant, right?
Always,
so how, or what does it actually mean to you, first of all, restructuring, and how does it apply to, the gym that you guys are built?
Well, there was a point in our competitive years where the ownership of the whole gym was offered up to us. And, we wanted to keep it going.
Yeah.
And I'm so deep in just the boxing, so I had to bring her in because all her skills are.
She's the brain behind
all the stuff that the boxers and myself are like, let us just train boxing.
Right, exactly.
We had to bring it in her to help that out.
I actually did notice that when I went on at the showcase, she was like everywhere.
Oh yeah,
and at once, and she was just moving here, moving there, camera here, talking to the people there, and I'm like, oh, she must be the brain. Because everybody else is like moving around, like trying to like ice the body, making sure and everybody's okay.
She's still setting up the bucket with the ice, with the Vaseline, all that stuff too. Making sure we got the towels.
Okay. The thing is, not only are we talking about restructuring, we're also covering, women this season, because Women's Month is coming up literally tomorrow. Can you imagine? We're like 59 days into the year. Crazy.
Yeah.
But as a woman, are you seeing a rise of women in the boxing, world?
I would definitely say it's picking up a lot.
Yeah, okay.
Between competitors and even seeing different women coaching and working in gyms, I see a lot more, but it is something that is not as common.
Right.
And I still see kind of some apprehension sometimes when women are coming in. So it's nice to kind of be a friendly face and kind of a door opener a little bit there.
Yeah, that's really good. And also when it comes down, because my friend is into boxing. Like she actually wants to start, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna bring you with me, and we're gonna go." And I'm just like, actually,
yeah, it's not for everybody.
And it's not that I wouldn't want to like fight, because I feel like there are some like pent up anger that needs to kind of be released. That's how, for some odd reasons, I see boxing that way. But in another way, I'm like, oh, it would also be nice to be able to kind of have self defense. Do you also coach, or are you just the brain behind the business?
Yeah, so I did train a little bit before I met Kyle, and then with Kyle throughout the years. And I don't compete myself,
right?
But I do coach out of the rig boxing as well.
Nice.
So we do kind of some brief coaching there, and I like to help out the beginners and get them on their feet. So I would say I dip my toes in, and I do a little bit of the corner work once in a while with the bucket, and making sure, like I said, people's needs are met. I would say there's coaching that goes on both in and outside of the ring. So there's definitely times we get to sit down with fighters and work through kind of the more mental side of things as well. So in that regard, definitely.
Cool. Okay.
I think that energy really helped us out too.
It does.
I mean, when you're with just the guy boxers and stuff,
it's just guy stuff, but
well, it's just nice to have the help. You wouldn't even think you need it, but then when you have it, you're like, oh, this is great. It makes it run so much smoother.
I love
so we feel like unstoppable now.
No, I love that. That's the way in which, like, I feel like women run the world. You know what I mean? Because like we kind of get to see what most people kind of like overseas. So that's really cool that you actually play that part in the business. Also, what's one moment since opening the gym that made you both stop and think, wow, this is actually working?
A moment.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's all the wins.
Like huge.
Some of the intense wins. Because when a boxer comes to us and says they want to either go pro or whatever it is, the way you build them up might be different. You give them big challenges along the way. So some of those times I'll be like, hey, you're most likely on paper, you shouldn't be able to beat this guy. Right. It's going to be tough. You have 14 fights. This guy has 60, So some of those, even getting a split decision loss or like almost beating them or sometimes beating them. Those are the huge moments, So that you're like, damn, like our training is actually, we're doing the right thing here. We're beating high level boxers from high level gyms.
That's really nice, because also even like going back to like the showcase, because that's like the only thing I can refer myself to boxing the world. But I did notice that a lot of the fights, like you guys' team actually like held their own, throughout actually the whole fight, and it was honestly one of the most fascinating things I ever actually. I went home and I was like, this is so cool. I want to do it again.
Yeah, the intensity and
it's like
the
an
dramatics
adrenaline
of
rush.
it. Yeah. If you haven't seen it live, it's intense.
Yeah. As the founder and head coach, what vision did you have for the culture inside the gym from day one?
The culture, we all we enjoy the intensity. So we're always kind of building each other up with the intensity. But it's also there's a lot of comedy involved, We all make fun of each other. And that's kind of how we show our love. And the intensity, pushing each other. So I think that's
the love of boxing too, right?
Yeah,
I think everybody really bonds, and you see all different kinds of people come together and get to share something that they all find so motivating and something that they can find growth in. So it's interesting to see how many different styles of people will come in and get to kind of partake in that together.
When I had Cameron last time, Cam, he did mention, he was like, boxing, like when you come to the gym, it's like, you're gonna feel it. It's great, but it's a dog eat dog.
Oh,
world,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And when he said that, I was like, what does that mean? Dog eat dog world.
Well, when say a beginner walks in,
right,
you can tell if you give them an hour of a footwork drill. Some people want to come in and they just want to show intensity, power, no technique. They have no respect for the sport or the growth.
Exactly.
So if you give someone just a footwork drill for like an hour, and if they're very meticulous on completing it correctly and always being correct, then you're kind of like, okay, I could work with this person.
Right. So is that how you choose who you want to work with? That makes any sense?
Sometimes, but usually if they're not ready to do that, they don't last. They'll leave on their own. Like we have a
Really?
whole we don't have to do anything. They leave if they can't handle it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are there any instances where you kind of went, this person is not gonna last, and you were right?
Oh, we always know.
Often.
we
It's
always
pretty
know.
easy to
Yeah,
tell.
yeah.
Sometimes
There's-
people will surprise you.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
they
I
do.
think,
They do.
It does tend to be a bit of a pattern, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it is very repetitious. It does require a lot of tenacity to keep it going. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
sometimes it takes a while before you see that progress. So having someone who's willing to kind of fail, right? They
Right.
have to be willing to fail a few times at least.
Always. You
At
fail
least a
every day
couple.
in boxing.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
have to. That's how you.
I understand. Men and ego.
Yeah, and it's a humbling sport for more than one
Right.
reason, right? And,
Yeah,
and that is a
absolutely.
huge part of it. So you really can see, sometimes you can tell, like you have someone show up who says, I'm going to be the greatest in the world. And they've never done a drill. Sometimes
You guys are probably
that's-
looking at them like, actually,
we'll see what happens. You
Yeah.
know, I'll give you a chance, but it tends to be,
Yeah.
you need to come from a bit of a humble place to know that it's going
Yeah.
to take time, and it's hard to walk in and expect to just be the best right away.
Right.
So facing that and
Yay.
pushing through and kind of building up through that pecking order is
Yeah.
definitely.
And the way to get into like the culture of the gym is
Mm-hmm.
to just like be there. You just stay consistent over
Okay.
time. Just stay consistent, and then the competitors will respect you
Yeah.
because you've been consistent. So then they'll kind of want to help you improve.
Yeah.
But what Cam's saying, it's kind of
It's a
goes back to
dog-eat-dog
the
world.
it's protect yourself at all times.
Yeah.
And especially now
Always.
with him being in the pros,
Yeah.
it's a bit of a different game than the amateurs. So
Mm-hmm.
I think you start to experience more kind of avenues,
Mm-hmm.
right? You work with promoters, you work with different managers, you work with,
That is
you're
true.
gonna have different pro fighters, and they might have different techniques or approaches to how they come into that fight. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like you said, protect yourself at all times. It is at the end of the day, although a community, still a solo sport. So
Yeah, I'm even glad that you mentioned the word solo, because I was going to ask, is boxing lonely at times?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
I mean, when
After
that bell
a
rings,
loss.
right?
Yeah,
you're the
as
only
well.
one. And like you said, after a loss, you go home. You're the only one that
Yeah.
kind of was in there, that experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
Your coach can be with you as close as they can be, but at the end of the day, that's
It's
still your
really
record.
you.
It's still your fight.
Yeah.
And it's something, like I mentioned, humbling. It can be, I think, quite challenging.
Wow, that's really.
Yeah, and most
that's-
other sports,
Yeah.
you could have your worst day at that sport, but your team wins.
Yes.
Or the opposite,
Exactly.
where you have a great day, but you lose. But in boxing, it's very obvious. It's right there in front of
Yeah.
everyone.
When you think
know?
about something like a tournament, especially, sometimes you go with a team.
Yeah.
It's possible your team does win, right? And maybe you don't. And that is
Exactly.
something, you know.
Yeah, you lose on the first day, and you go home. You go back to the Airbnb, and you live with everyone who's like still
Yeah.
trying to make weight.
Oh
and,
no.
Or maybe they
Eat
won and they're
healthy.
celebrating. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just, it's a
exactly, yeah.
balance,
Yeah.
right? So
or
you
they
still-
lose and they celebrate.
Exactly.
Well, you know
Also
what?
true.
It's
Yeah,
always
yeah.
best to lose and celebrate.
Oh,
because
yeah, you
at
have
the
to,
end of
yeah,
the day,
yeah.
you were in the ring. You came out
Oh, yeah.
alive.
That's
right?
always it.
That's
yeah.
That's an amazing way to see it. But what is the actual recovery time of, like, after a game, let's say, or a match, sorry.
Yeah, it always depends on the intensity of the day or what was going on,
Yeah.
But when it comes to like how much damage you take, there's a lot of ways to mitigate that with your distance control, your technique. So like someone was punching a shot here, you're stepping with it. You're always seeing
It's like
what's
dancing
going on.
basically with the other person, while basically anticipating
Yeah,
what they're gonna do.
you just have to make sure that they don't do damage to you, because
My
everyone thinks
goodness.
about my damage,
Yeah.
but it's like you got to think about your defense. You don't want to get scored on.
Right.
That's
Oh
how you
my
lose
God.
sometimes. You
And
get scored
we're
on.
also really lucky to partner up with a chiropractor, Dr. Abed Hamidi,
I saw
so
him.
from
I
Kent
saw
Chiro
that.
and Wellness,
Yeah.
as well as Dr. Remy Pearl from Pearl Performance as well. So they take care of our fighters as well. If
Good.
they have particular things, maybe they kind of go and make
Yeah.
some appointments and,
Yeah.
and get helped out that way.
Well, that's good, because I was gonna say, guys, having to just put ice on a punch,
Yeah.
it doesn't, just help. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
it has to be
So-
the recovery is very, very
Yeah.
important. It has to be. We do it smart. Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah. No, that's amazing.
We're all
I-
about that.
I like that. And as a coach, how do you recognize potential in someone who might not even believe in themselves yet?
You see it in either the way that they might get upset at themselves for not doing the technique.
Okay.
You're like, oh wow, like look, they care. They care about their balance, and they're trying to figure it out. They're like, oh,
Really?
So that is a thing. The intensity that they can put in. Yeah, there's a few different ways.
I'm just basically asking these questions for those who are interested.
Yeah.
If you would like, 10-8, available.
Yeah, it's tough though. It's tough.
Right.
It's
Hey,
not
man,
easy.
you have at the end of the day, like you have to have some sort of like guts to do what to do something for yourself, right?
yeah.
And if it's boxing, like I was mentioning my friend who's actually interested in, kind of like trying to take some classes and everything. We're thinking about it in more like of a fitness way. But some people like Cam, who went pro with it, it's like, no, this is like my livelihood. You know what I mean? So it's like, you have to kind of decide, do I want this or do I not? You know what I mean? So I'm really glad that you can be able to kind of like see the potential and go, you know what? Okay, this person is actually willing to learn, so that's always
That's the
amazing
thing. Yeah.
If you could speak to the version of yourself from before the gym existed, what would you tell her?
That's such an interesting question.
Yeah.
I could have never pictured
Really?
sitting here now or doing this. I actually came from an art background. So
You have, yes,
yeah,
I
for
noticed.
years. So
Yeah.
it's wild to think, because there was a moment in time where I really questioned, like, what was I thinking? I went to art school. and,
Yeah.
like, pandemic hit and things got kind of funky.
Mhm.
But it's interesting looking back now, telling myself, you're going to actually use all of this stuff. And it's not only going to be something that
awesome.
changed my life, but
Yeah.
I hope, and I've heard,
Yeah.
I've helped to change other people's lives just through that business knowledge that I learned,
Mhm.
that creative background, and being able
Mhm.
to see things like you kind of mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
So I would say just hold on. Be open to the possibilities, take the ride, and
Yeah.
see where we end up.
I love that. And I'm so glad that you even mentioned art, because that's where I was actually heading towards.
Nice.
You are awesome at it.
Oh my goodness, thank
Like
you.
I was doing my research, and I'm like kind of like an FBI agent, if that makes any sense. I dig, and when I start digging, I would dig, and I was even telling my friend, I was like, watch, I'm gonna land on like somebody's grandma's page, and they're probably dead, RIP, but I'm gonna land and I'm gonna like know who they are. Her name is Cheryl, blah blah blah, right?
Yeah.
And lo and behold, when I was doing my research, it did happen right in front of her. She was like, "You're scary." I'm like, it is what it is. Anyways, so as I was doing my research, I did notice that you draw,
Yes.
right? When did that start?
It's actually funny. I think I was probably 4 or 5 when I was
Cool.
drawing. I would go to fitness classes with my mom. And so she would be busy, and I had a sketchbook, and she said, stay busy. And I remember trying to draw a hairbrush, and it looked like a head. And then I was like, oh, I could draw heads. And then after that, it kind of just kept going and going. I got
Yeah.
an opportunity to take painting classes when I
Yeah.
was in about middle school. And grade 12 came along, and I was trying to figure out what were the next steps going to be. I had all these
Yeah.
different kind of avenues I wanted to do. And I ended up at the Ottawa School of Art, which was a really cool experience. So 3 years there, learning
Awesome.
business, like I
Yeah.
said, learning not only the creative background besides just drawing, but it was how to think outside the box. Really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's really nice. I tried that whole art thing.
It's something.
Not my thing. I tried. I really tried. You did mention that, as your mom was going into fitness, you were out here drawing, right? Which is really interesting to me, because I'm like, sports has always been in some way, shape or form, like, related to you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Which is like really, really cool. How do you add your art into boxing as well?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of running the business side of it, I was the one who designed the logo. We got to paint in
okay.
the gym. We put up some murals that represented 10-8. We were able to, anytime we have an event, I get to be a little bit creative with the lighting. I get to be
Exactly.
creative with the merch that we launch, posters that we make. And so that's more of the physical side of it. But even just how we decide to kind of market and present ourselves. Instagram, I would say, is a huge one that I like to get
Yeah,
really
that's
creative
been
you guys'
helping too.
page.
Well, and she's there with the camera, the mics, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, I
you
love
know?
it.
I need to
Angles.
learn from you.
So
Yeah.
Because that little walking around and doing interviews and like filming, she's really good at it.
Although
Yeah.
I'll say it's largely Kyle editing as well. So he's
Oh,
able
yeah,
to take
but-
what
You edit too?
We
Okay,
need
so I need to
to-
learn from both of you
teamwork.
guys.
teamwork. So I get the
okay.
angles and really try to come up with something that's usable.
Yeah.
And how can we showcase boxing in that artistic light? I think
Exactly.
it's easy to kind of just take a photo, but it's nice to try to give the experience of being there with the boxers
Yeah.
and getting to be backstage and,
Yeah.
and having
You
that
guys do an
walkout.
amazing job, because if you go on like the 10-8 page,
Mm-hmm.
shameless plug, when you go on the 10-8 page, you definitely do see how things work and everything else. That's my favorite part. So you guys being able to kind of like show that. Sometimes people supporting the vision don't always get the spotlight. What has this journey been like for you personally? Not just as a co-owner, but as a woman building something meaningful.
It's interesting, actually. I'm mentioning not so much like the visible work. It's kind of special to me because it feels so much like a family.
Yes.
And I love getting to see, like you said, having a boxer come in and maybe they're not totally sure of what they're doing, but watching them grow. You know, Cam's such a great example because he was our very first boxer.
Oh, was
and although I
he?
wasn't originally part of that journey,
Yeah.
getting to kind of join in and you know, I was there for his first fight and to see that all the way up to the pros, it feels almost like this, I always say like a little bit of a maternal moment, you know, like I like to kind of help raise them up as boxers and getting to be a part of that, even with the events, getting to design the events and hearing people enjoy them, it just brings such a sense of satisfaction.
You like cigars.
Oh yeah, love
That's like
cigars.
your favorite thing.
Yeah.
You do
And
your
how
research.
I do.
Well,
I'm telling
I mean,
you,
that
like,
one's not
when-
too hard to figure out. You know?
No, it wasn't. But I was like, who is this person on this page and why do they keep coming back often? And then I was like, okay, let's click on this. And I'm like, oh, he's private. Dang.
Yeah.
You like cigars is what I found out. You also cycle? You're a
Yeah.
cyclist?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. And we were talking about you guys cycling in the winter and how I was being
Yeah,
judgy. And I'm
every
going to stop being
day.
judgy. But you guys cycle every day. So there's like an endurance there. Would you recommend someone who would want to kind of also like, you know, build their endurance, you know, would you recommend them to go into like the cycling route or just running would be great or, you know what I mean?
If you're trying to build your real endurance for like intensity, you gotta sprint.
Sprint. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
short sprints with
Okay.
long recovery. You know, 2-3 minutes of recovery. Short sprints. You know.
I feel like something interesting too is when you do take the boxers up, like he'll take them as a group up to Champlain Lookout. So they'll bike from the gym up there. But he always talks about it being more of a psychological thing. It's
Oh,
really
yeah.
just like that perseverance. And
Yeah.
there's going to be moments that hill's going up and up.
Because
and up,
anyone
and
who's
then it
done that hill,
turns.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
you
Oh,
know.
bye.
It doesn't stop. It goes kilometers just going up. So you're just like,
Oh,
ugh.
my.
So it's less about the endurance, more about the not quitting when
Yeah.
things get
Yeah.
hard,
Yeah.
right?
There's
It's
a
gonna
lesson
be-
in there somewhere.
yeah.
And I know exactly where the lesson is, but I'm like, that's
I'm not-
really
you're
good.
not ready for
I
it
mean,
yet.
Yeah,
feel free
that's
to come
really
with
good.
us
Like at this point,
sometime.
it's like a therapy session for me because
Yeah.
having to see it that way, it's grand. We're not gonna get into that, guys. When you both disagree on something in the business, how do you work through it and come back aligned?
Actually, that's a great question. I would say taking a little bit of time sometimes because there might be things that maybe on a coaching side will work a certain way and on a management side might work a different way.
Right.
Sometimes I think taking a beat and then trying to just hear each other out and finding a middle ground.
Right.
There haven't been a lot of things that we've really not seen eye to eye on. But any challenges that have come up, I would really say just sleep on it.
Right.
Give it a moment, settle, because sometimes it could be that you don't see the other side right away.
Yeah.
Maybe you take a beat and
Yeah.
it becomes clearer.
That's really good. I'm a big believer in taking 24 hours in everything. And in French, we have a saying that says, la nuit porte conseil, basically meaning like, you know, night gives you,
Clarity, is it? Like,
yeah. That's the word I'm looking
I think
for.
that's
I'm
what,
like,
yeah.
hold on.
I was translating in my head. I'm like,
Basically.
might not be exact.
Yeah,
but-
nighttime gives you clarity. So with anything that you do, you know, try and give it 24 hours, you know? Opening a gym is a big risk. So what challenges did you face early on that people don't usually see behind the scenes?
Yeah. Well, for us, because we kind of bought a business that was already going on.
Right.
And, you know, we're like, I was the face of it kind of already with some
Right.
of the other coaches there at the time. So then all the business background stuff was just thrown on me.
Oh,
And that one, like, you know, it took like what we joked that it was like a couple days or a week of me saying I was supposed to open a business account and all this. And I'm
All
like,
the
I can't do
background.
this.
No
Like,
way.
you know, it would take away so much from the boxing. And
Yeah.
I'm just not that guy that does that anyways.
And that's
Like,
why she was brought on.
Which
Yeah,
for
I
yeah.
see
me,
that.
like,
and a lot of experience in that world, kind of, at least. you
well, I
know?
definitely had dealt with a
Start
lot
of
of
it, yeah.
contracts. With my art, I would consider that having run my own business, but it was a
Exactly.
solo scale, I kind
Yeah.
of said, whereas this opened it up to other people's dreams and hopes and desires. And I was not, you know, I have a lot of business friends. I always say they're so lucky because they sat down and they made a plan
Yeah.
and they had, you know, a year and a half to visualize
Exactly.
it. And for me, it was kind of just like,
You just got
hit the
thrown
ground
in
running.
there.
It was a couple days. It was like
Seconds. I think
Yeah.
you
It was
had,
like, yeah, I think I'm buying the gym.
Yeah.
And then she was like, okay, and then
What?
Yeah.
couldn't really.
Oh, so
And
you
I
had to
couldn't
learn
keep
on
up.
the go,
Yeah.
basically. That's
Yeah.
really
It was
cool.
fast, and trying to figure out how to execute your vision too, because
Yeah.
it was important to me that because this was kind of Kyle's baby, you know,
Yeah.
it's something he'd created from scratch
Yeah.
and had been functioning for the most part, but taking it over and starting a whole new kind of, you know, we restructured the classes and the schedule, restructured the coaching, and even now we're still learning and growing with that.
Yeah.
So kind of talking about restructuring again, but it's
There
that
you
thought
go.
of like,
Yeah.
hey, we forgive ourselves for mistakes we may have made. We've learned from them. We appreciate those opportunities and moments in time, and everything's got to be kind of how we move forward with it.
Exactly. I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because I am someone who has a hard time forgiving myself and moving on from something. Perfect is not real. It's an illusion. If you're perfect, how do you learn from anything, right? So you having to be thrown into, you know, basically the gutter and actually get birthing something beautiful, that is a huge lesson. And especially having to talk about restructuring, this kind of like really, you know, like starts off my season perfectly, and I'm super glad that you mentioned that.
What can I
Like,
say
that's-
too? Like I feel like if I was perfect now, then I would have no room to grow.
Exactly. And a lot of people kind of misunderstand growing with perfection, because like some people, it's like, oh, I have to make sure that this is, you know, great before I started, but it's like days are going by, you haven't started it yet, right? So it's like, when do you think perfection is going to happen or it's going to come through? How does the business itself work, where it comes down to partnerships and everything? Do you guys seek out partnerships? Does it come to you guys?
For partnerships, I mean, like more like sponsorships, you mean? Or
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I try to reach out to people that
Nice.
at the beginning, it was really like people who supported us, that were kind of part of the community, that we could bring in and give them a little bit of that spotlight as well. And then it started to kind of grow a little bit more, where we've had more opportunities to meet more people. We're still, of course, learning and growing with that.
Absolutely.
But it is so incredible. So, you know, Dr. Abed's a great example, where
Yes.
he actually was a teammate of one of our boxers when they played football.
Really?
And kind of by happenstance, we met him through chiropractic and
Wow.
found that out. But then it became this opportunity to really work together. And,
Yeah.
you know, he's been a huge sponsor for both our events and for our pro fighters.
Cool.
So stuff
You
like
see how
that,
small
really,
the
right?
world is?
Yeah, exactly.
The world
Yeah.
is so small.
Hi, Glow Gang. If you've been dealing with pain, recovering from an injury, or just trying to stay active without discomfort slowing you down, this one's for you. At Chiro Med, you're supported by a dedicated team, including Dr. Miriam, who is the clinical director and chiropractor, Dr. Abed, who is the chiropractor, and Gaith, who is the physiotherapist. They're all working together to help you move and perform at your best. This locally owned clinic provides high-quality physiotherapy and chiropractic care for everyone, from kids to seniors. And they also work with former and current high-level athletes, including tenured boxers, to keep them in peak condition. What makes them stand out is their personalized, all-in-one approach. They combine hands-on treatment with performance-based rehab using advanced therapies like shockwave and their standout service, TECAR therapy. That is TECAR therapy. TECAR therapy is a non-invasive, pain-free treatment designed to accelerate healing at a deeper level. Patients often experience 30 to 60% pain reduction, sometimes within just 1 to 3 sessions, 20 to 50% faster recovery, improved mobility within weeks, and swelling that resolves up to twice as fast. It's especially effective for conditions like chronic lower back pain, ligament sprains, joint stiffness, and post-injury recovery. Their mission is simple: to help you move better, feel better, and stay active without pain holding you back. Right now, they're offering TECAR therapy at no cost when added to your treatment session for a limited time. To get started, you can call them at 613-695-8600, or you can email them at info@kentchiromed.com. They also do have a social media where you can be able to follow them at Kent Chiro Med Wellness Clinic. Kent Chiro Med, helping you get back to doing what you love stronger than ever. Now let's get back on the show.
Do you guys have like classes for some of us who are just interested in kind of learning a little bit of techniques?
Yeah, that was one of the bigger kind of things we had to restructure at the beginning. Was
Right.
like, we used to do it almost like an old school house, where it was, someone who's a pro next to someone who's learning.
Right.
But then we're like, we kind of got to separate them,
Exactly.
So that was part when we started getting formal classes, like, if you're a pure beginner, you come to boxing basics.
Right.
Which has grown too.
Yeah,
3 different
exactly,
times a week now, boxing
Okay.
basics.
Which days?
Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays.
Okay.
So
Afternoon, mornings, evenings?
So Tuesdays around 5,
Okay.
Thursday 6, and Saturday morning 10 a.m.
Okay. And if there's like one word you should tell someone who would love to come, to 10A, what would it be?
A specific word.
Yeah. Or a sentence, maybe.
Try it.
Try it?
Try it.
Oh, okay.
I always think like, people surprise you sometimes. Like I said,
Right.
they come in and maybe it's someone who seems kind of quiet that maybe didn't have a super athletic background, but
Right.
maybe they just haven't tapped that potential yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think boxing is such an interesting sport.
Right.
And I think, like I said, it attracts so many different styles of people.
Mm-hmm.
You either love it or hate it. Some people
Yeah.
do come in and then maybe they decide it's not for them, but
I
at
feel
least you
like
tried.
I'm going to like love it too much actually and become a pro.
That's
Right?
what happens. We'll get
I
you
think.
set up. I think it could happen.
Don't get me hyped now.
Going
'cause
through the
I will do
amateurs
it.
is tough. That's for sure.
I wanted to know actually because we're talking about you've been in boxing and everything. What actually drew you to it?
My father boxes. He still boxes. He's
Really?
58. He had 3
What?
fights last year. Yeah. So he trained for like 40 years, I guess, maybe even more,
Well, you
What?
should tell her about the punching bag.
before he had his first fight. Yeah. Yeah.
What about the punching bag?
So he used to be a paper boy when he was a young tot, and he saved up his paper route money and bought a punching bag. And we always say that's kind of like the true origin of 10-8 boxing.
Yeah, technically, yeah. He bought that
Stop.
punching bag, and then when I was growing up, it was there. We always watch boxing and stuff too, so it's always been a part of my life.
And he's now our cut man.
Yeah,
pro
that's
fighter.
right.
So you'll see him on the live fights.
Yeah, when Cam's fight got all crazy with that blood,
Yeah.
he fixed that cut. It was crazy. We
he was
were really
incredible.
lucky to have him there. Yeah.
This is a Glotalks exclusive. Excuse me, that was really nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
So that's how it started.
Okay.
My boxing, at least.
Yeah.
So I was always doing that. I like formally boxed for maybe 6 months when I was like in grade 7. 12 years old or something.
Right.
And then I was always boxing on my own, or like most young boys will spar with their friends in the
Right.
backyard and stuff with like socks on their hands or
Yeah.
something.
I
And
had
how
a
did you-
friend who attended. I grew up in a very small town,
Right.
And so we had what was called the dojo. So did jiu-jitsu and kickboxing, different martial arts,
Right,
And
right.
so I had been asked by a friend if I wanted to go and try a class, and stayed there for a little over a year, I think, before I graduated and moved to Ottawa.
Right.
And while I was in art school, to be honest, I didn't think about it a whole lot. But then meeting Kyle and finding out he was a coach, it was an opportunity to get free one-on-ones.
Right.
Who wouldn't want that?
Hey,
So
always.
and then all the way through the 10-8 days, I used to go in and train. Even we had other coaches there as well. And yeah, the rest is history.
Huh.
Yeah.
I love that for you guys. And I'm so happy you guys came. This was a really nice conversation. And honestly, like I said, I suggest everybody before they die, go watch a game or be a part of the game, because
Yeah.
it's really, it's an eye opener. Right. And like I said, I shed my first 10 minutes, I shed tears. And then after that, I wiped them off so clean. And I was rooting for any and everybody, like, drop that punch.
Oh,
It was fun. Do you guys have any shows or fights, actually, upcoming fights?
Well, we have fights tonight. Like our boxers are always going everywhere
Really?
to
Okay.
fight
Yeah.
and spar other places.
Okay.
But so we have some fights tonight in Ottawa. But our next big one that we're a part of and like really excited for is April 11th at the Hard Rock Casino in Ottawa. It'll be Cam and McKinley. So two boxers that were like
where do I
grown
get
in the dungeon of
tickets?
10-8.
Oh
and they'll
my
be,
God, that's really cool.
They'll be having their pro fight.
I went to the Hard Rock 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And for the first time, I was like, I never even knew Ottawa had something like that, right?
Mhm.
It's brand new.
Yeah.
Actually, his pro fight was the first pro fight, I think, in Ottawa ever.
Really?
But it was the first one to christen the Hard Rock. And I think they
Okay.
only opened maybe 2 months before that. So it was sometime last summer. This will be the second pro boxing
It's
event.
going to
there.
be fun. I'm excited. I have some rapid fire questions for you guys.
Let's do it.
Favorite cigar brand?
Oh, geez. There's so many.
I could say mine. I don't know what the brand is. You
Yeah.
can correct me, but the cherry bomb. Is
Oh
really
yeah,
good.
that's a CAO cherry bomb.
Big
Yeah,
fan.
it is, yeah. For anyone who's wanting to get into it, it's
into
very small.
Yeah.
It has a flavor, so it's kind of like, you know, the real cigar smokers will be like, "Come on, you got a flavor to it."
It
but,
got a flavor
you know,
to
yeah,
it.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
good though.
But,
Wait, by the way, how did you get into like cigars? Like,
technically my father as well. Yeah,
Okay.
and that's a good cigar brand. Is My Father Cigars. It's actually
oh, okay.
that's one of my favorites. Yeah,
There we go.
yeah.
Okay.
It's a good one.
Hardest lesson boxing has taught you?
Always be in shape.
Okay. That's a good one.
I think
What
so.
about you?
Be patient and leave your ego at the door.
There you go.
Yeah,
That
you
should be
have
like
to.
the tagline of 10A at this point.
First
Yeah.
rule, I believe.
Oh,
Yeah, it
that
is.
should
Yeah,
be.
we have a.
Oh,
Leave
there
your
you
ego at
go.
the door.
Even better. Fight night or race day? Adrenaline or focus?
Fight night.
Yeah,
Fight night?
yeah.
Okay. Creative project or gym project? What energizes you more?
Creative project, but sometimes they're the same thing.
Right now they are. That's us basically.
That's really good. One thing you hope everyone takes away from this gym?
Number one, defensive technique.
Mhm.
We love fight IQ and defense
Mhm.
and understanding the game, not just fighting.
Mhm.
We don't. Yeah, we want to control the fight, the positioning, and everything.
Perfect.
So I like that.
Okay. And punching bag or sparring partner?
Always sparring partner because
I know.
you're going to have to move around and use your
Right.
legs and use your IQ. The
Yeah.
problem with the bag is you're standing there,
Yeah,
you're
and it's
getting
not
bad
moving.
techniques.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll take all the bags away from the gym and I'll be like, all right, let's move.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the bag.
Huh.
Yeah. You can
And-
use it like if you're already a skilled boxer, but if you're
Right.
like, I want to learn boxing, let me get on a bag.
Yeah.
It's not good. Not true boxing at least. You can punch it and it will be nice, but you're not doing the sport of boxing, moving
Yeah.
around, deking people out and
Nice.
faking and all
Well,
that.
remember, kids, no punching bag.
That's right.
Just remember
Footwork,
Yeah.
shadow boxing.
that.
Shadow
That
boxing.
part,
is what it
exactly.
is.
How does a day look like for you guys? Like, walk me into like a day in the
Okay,
life.
yeah.
Of
Want me
Kyle.
to start?
Yeah.
Yours is straightforward. I think.
Yeah, it's true. It's very, my alarm goes off. You know, I get ready. I make like a coffee to bring to the gym. I
Right.
bike to the gym.
Yeah.
We train the competitors in the morning. So like usually 8 to 11 or 9 to 11 on certain days. And then I come home. I usually nap for an hour. Like almost every day I'm napping for an hour.
Really?
And then I
That's
go
good,
back
though.
in the evening.
That's really
So I'll
good.
usually go from either 3 or 4 to, 9:30, 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was pretty
Yeah,
straightforward.
so-
I like that though.
Very-
Napping, you have to nap. You have to.
Yeah,
like that. I
if
really
you
like
if
that.
you can,
should do
you
that
know,
more
it's a
often.
luxury for
Yeah,
sure.
it
Yeah, but
really
I've kind of
is.
set up my day like
Yeah.
that.
You know how like when we're kids, it's like, oh, I don't want to nap. I don't want to take a nap. Now, I don't even care if it's 5 minutes. I will take it.
I'm taking
Yeah,
it now.
Even if I'm sitting down, I'll take that nap. So I hear
Cat
that.
nap.
What about you?
I would say it depends on the day, but generally, I teach some other locations. I teach yoga and I teach more of the bag work classes at the rig I mentioned. It depends. So if I'm teaching, I would go and do that. I tend to be more in the mornings. And then it's showing up at 10:08. I've kind of built a little office in the corner.
Right. Good.
And you'll see me there. I'm typing. I've got phones going.
Yeah.
It's all about what the tasks are that day. Sometimes I'm building stuff in the gym. I might be repairing, battle ropes or, duct tape is my friend. So always cleaning up something, picking
Yeah.
up and checking in on people.
Yeah.
And so that can go sometimes all day.
Nice.
Yeah. And then biking.
You guys are really fit. I like that. Good for you guys.
Well, we're like at the.
Hey man, listen.
There's boxing fit though. When you learn boxing
Right.
fit, that's
I was
different.
going to say, I don't know.
That's different.
I don't know
Yeah.
about me, but
Yeah.
I try.
Well, I mean, hey, compared to me, I don't even bike. So that right there, I have to
Yeah,
give it
yeah.
to you guys. Like that's really good. So I wanted to guys. I'm leaving the floor to you guys at this point. Let us know where we can find you and promote yourself, basically.
Yeah, so you can find us at 108boxing.com if you want to go website style, or Instagram is the best way. You'll always catch one of us in the DMs. It's 108boxing, spelled out TENEIGHT.
I'll make sure to put it somewhere on the screen.
See it here? And you can send us a message if you have any questions. I would definitely say come check out the basics class. If you have boxed before, still come check out the basics. We can
Right,
always go
why
back to the
not?
fundamentals and learn from them.
Yeah, and competitors, if you're willing to, or if maybe your goal is to go pro,
Yeah.
that's something that we can do as well. If you're willing to put in the work and really go for it, then that's kind of what we're trying to do as well.
Perfect.
So we got the beginners, and then we got all the way to the end.
Perfect. Well, you heard it here first. Emily and Kyle, thank you so much for coming to the show. Thank you so much for even accepting my invitation.
Thank you for having us.
It's been a long time coming. And when you told me you were bringing Kyle, I was like, yes, we get to speak to everybody at the same time. So this was honestly an amazing episode. And you guys are starting my season. So
there we go.
amazing.
Season
Thank you.
3.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And it's going to be really, really cool. And, I hope that you as a listener, I hope that this episode inspired you to glow, grow, and restructure. And I will see you on the next episode. Bye, guys.